Right everyone, so today we're going to talk about UFC 232. Obviously the reason we've left it so late is because with everything that's been going on this week with John Jones, etc. Didn't even know if we was even gonna have the show. I thought it could have been cancelled or anything. But anyway, we're only a few hours away from the actual fight, so pretty confident we're going to make it now. So we'll start at the bottom of the main card as we always do. Chad Mendes versus Alexander Volkanovski. Not too much to say about this. I'm going to go with Chad Mendes by decision. I think this is a bit of a sort of like a warm-up fight, a comeback fight, if you will, for Chad Mendes, a bit like you get in boxing. And Volkanovski, I don't know that much about him. The fights I've seen, he's not been that impressive, so I think Chad Mendes is going to walk it. That said, I think it'll be a decision. I don't think he's going to stop him. Next fight, Ilia Latifi against Corey Anderson. Bit of a toss-up this one, a little bit 50-50 I think, but I'm going to lean towards Corey Anderson. I think Corey Anderson's beat the better calibre of opponent. I think he's lost to much better opponents than Latifi's ever faced, so I think the experience is just on Anderson's side. Either way, I think it's going to be a bit of a wrestling base, sort of holding the opponent still and sort of dominating. So I'm going with a Corey Anderson decision on that one. Next is Carlos Condit versus Michael Chiesa. So Michael Chiesa obviously coming up in weight from 155 to 170. Down at 155, he was sort of dominated and submitted by Anthony Pettis and Kevin Lee. When you think about Carlos Condit, I always see him as a bit of a dangerous character. Whether he wins or loses, it's always a tough fight, and that's how I see this going. That said, Carlos Condit is 2-7 in his last 9 fights. He actually lost 7 of his last 9 fights. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's just in my head that he's as good as he is. Maybe he isn't actually as good as I sort of see him. But either way, I think he's going to be too much. He's too experienced and just overall too good for Chiesa coming up in weight. And I kind of see it going Condit by submission more than likely, I would say. Now we'll get into the main fights. You've got Chris Cyborg against Amanda Nunes. So not really much needs to be said about this pair. Obviously, Cyborg is a bit of a killer. Usually goes out and steamrolls her opponents. Nunes, I think in the early part of her career, she would come out in the first 2 rounds, and if she could stop her opponent, she'd look unbeatable. But if they could drag her into that 3rd round, she would tire and look completely human. So I'm not sure she's proved otherwise since. She's just become more deadly in those first couple of rounds. And been stopping people left, right and centre. So I do think Nunes can challenge Cyborg. I think it'll be a scrappy fight. I think the two are going to go head to head and swing really. It's going to be a bit of a case of whoever connects first. But I do think Cyborg is going to be the one that connects first, the most power, the most accurate, and I think she'll hurt Nunes fairly early probably. I think maybe in the 2nd round, something like that. Probably get TKO, something like that. Just too much strength, too much power, too accurate, and just size really. Just Nunes coming up from 135 to 145. I just think Cyborg's going to be too big. And then on to obviously the main event, the only fight that really people are interested in: John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. One of the things people go on about is that John Jones is coming off his suspension. So that time out of the cage, people are thinking, well, hang on, what's happening here? How's he going to look? Blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, he's actually fought more recently than Gustafsson has. Gustafsson's been out longer than John Jones has. So if anyone's going to have ring rust, you probably would assume it's going to be Gustafsson. Honestly, John Jones has never really faltered in any of his fights, other than things like drug tests and things of that nature. He's never really looked in serious trouble, in my opinion. I know a lot of people say Gustafsson gave him a run for his money, but I'm not sure he did. And he certainly didn't win the match. Jon Jones won. I don't see Gustafsson has really shown much progression since then. He looked good against Glover Teixeira, but Glover Teixeira is probably 10 years out of his prime. He should have been around in the Chuck Liddell days, you know. So he's struggled against Cormier. He struggled against Rumble Johnson, and I just don't see how he's progressed whatsoever to be able to compete with Jon Jones. He may compete, but I don't see how he's going to beat him. So again, I'm going towards Jon Jones for this one, and I'm actually thinking this time, I think he's going to stop him. I think it'll be a TKO. Again, I think he'll end up knocking him down and then maybe beat him with some like elbows on the ground, something like that. I think the reason I think that is because I think when Gustafsson came out last time, Jon wasn't expecting him to come out the way he did, and that's why he had the success in the earlier rounds. And then by round 3, he'd figured him out and was able to, claw back the next couple of rounds on him, and that's how he won. I think he did very similar with Daniel Cormier in the first fight, and then come the second fight, you saw what happened. He kicks him in the head and knocks him out. Granted, it then got overturned to no contest due to failed drug tests again. And maybe that's what happens this time, who knows. But I think he's got Gustafsson figured out for the actual fight, and I think he'll stop him. And that's it, really. So let me know if you agree, disagree, whatever. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel if you like, and if you don't, doesn't really matter, I'm not that bothered. Give the video a like, and that's about it. See you in the next video.